All right, so let's start on our word problems here. So we are going to do the same thing that we did with two variables. We just now have three. So it says there's 49,000 seats, tickets upper level, lower, middle, and bottom level. The number of seats in the middle and bottom equals the number of seats in the upper. When all the seats are sold, the revenue is $1,419,500. How many seats are there? All right, so first thing we're going to label, X is the lower, Y is the middle, and Z is the upper. And we know that there are 49,000 seats. So X plus Y plus Z equals 49,000. Now, in terms of cost, we've got 35 for the lower, 30 for the middle, and 25 for the upper. And that gives us that $1,419,500. And then there's an extra equation right here that says the number of seats in the middle and the bottom level, so that's X plus Y, is equal to the number of seats in the upper, so it equals Z. So we now have three equations here that we need to work with. So when you have a system, you always have to have, with three variables, there has to be three equations. So the first thing you notice is if you look here, we have X plus Y here, but we also have X plus Y here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take equation number 1 and I'm going to sub in that Z value. And that'll allow me, I only have one variable. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for Z. And I get 24,500. So now what I'm going to do is rewrite my equations with that value in it. So I get X plus Y plus 24,500 equals the 49,000, which when we simplify, we get X plus Y equals 24,500. There's equation 1. Number 2, when we sub it in, we get 35x plus 30y plus 25 times our Z value equals the 1,419,500. So when I simplify, I get 35x, 30y. I'm going to do 25 times 24,500, and then I'm going to subtract that from the 1 million number. And I get 87 and 3 zeros. Okay, and then number 3 basically can just stay. I'm just going to smush it in here. So you get X plus Y equals the 24,500, which is the same equation that we had for number 1. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I can either take 1 and 2 or I can take 2 and 3, but you can't take 1 and 3 because it's the same equation. So let's say I take 1 and then 2. Line them up, 35x, 30y equals 807, and 3 zeros, and I'm going to eliminate. So let's say I'm going to eliminate the x, so I get negative 35. So I get negative 35x minus 35y equals negative 857,500, and then the second one doesn't change. 87, 3 zeros. So now my x's are gone. I get negative 5y, and I'm going to take that number, and then I'm going to add that, and I get negative 50,500. And when I divide by negative 5, I end up with 10,100 for my y value. Okay, so we have z, we have y, and now we need to get x. So I would suggest subbing it into one of the easier formulas. So I'm going to stick with the x plus y equals 24,500 and sub it into that. So I get 10,100 equals 24,500. And then I'm going to subtract. And I end up with 14,400. Okay, so in terms of final answer, we usually write x, y, and z. So we have 14,400, 10,100, and, oops, sorry, let me erase that. And then we have for z, 24,500. And these are all seats. 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 And again, what those should represent then is this is your X, this is your Y, this is your Z, and then X is the lower, Y is the middle, and Z should be your upper for that one. All right, we got one more example here. This one's a little bit different, not so many numbers working with. So it says Amy, Karen, and Nolan are siblings. Their ages in years can be represented by the variables A, K, and N. So they're already giving us the variables. They've lived a total of 22 years combined. So Amy plus Karen plus Nolan equals 22 years. Karen has lived twice as many years as Amy. So Karen has lived twice as many years as Amy, and Nolan has lived 6 years longer than Amy. Nolan has lived 6 years longer than Amy. So we've got equation 1, 2, and 3. And they look a little bit different just because most of the other problems we've done have 3 variables for every single one. So in this case, what we're going to do is it's a decent amount of substitution. So what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to solve for A. So I'm going to take the first equation, A plus K plus N equals 22, and I'm going to sub in. So I know that K is equal to 2A, and I know that N is equal to 6 plus A. So I'm going to sub both the second 2 equations in, number 2 and 3, and then I'm only left with A value. So I have A plus 2A plus A, which gets me 4A. If I bring the 6 to the other side, I've got 16, which means A is 4. So now I work my way backwards. So if K is 2A, that means 2 times 4 is 8. And if N is 6 plus A, that means 6 plus 4 gets me 10. So if my parentheses are supposed to go A, K, and N, well, A is 4, K is 8, and the other one is